Now, I want to hear a little bit about some experiences that you've had also, Brad, because you shared with me the fact that you came to know Deborah because you were in a situation of nearly being homeless.
Oh, yeah.
Could you talk a little bit about that with us?
Yeah. As I said, when I got out of the military, I was lucky enough to go and work for Ross Perot's company, Perot Systems, doing executive protection and armed personal protection for their company with all veterans, and it was an all-veteran group. Mm-hmm. Regretfully, they were purchased by Dell for about $4 billion, and a lot of the people, really good people who had been with the company a long time, whose positions were duplicated or excessive, lost their positions.
Mm-hmm. Happens at a lot of mergers.
A lot, yeah. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't always done in the nicest way. Being in the group that I was, we had to attend a lot of those functions. Mm-hmm. As we talked about, it can be a lot of little things that add to this spiral. In my case, I found out that my mom was ill, and at that point, they were starting to separate a lot of people in not so friendly ways. Mm-hmm. And I went to talk to my mom. She'd asked us to come down and meet with her so she could tell us what was going on. I came back to find out that they were offering my position or discussing giving my position to a contractor that I had hired.
Wow.
At the same time...
Rug pulled out from under you. Oh.
Yeah, and at the same time, that resulted in a less than friendly separation, regretfully. But at the same time, and this is the stuff you can't write, we're at a risk of losing our house in Rhode Island. It's the first house we've ever had. It was probably a little bit more than we should have extended into, but...
And when you say we, you're married with how many children?
Kids.
2 children. How old are they at the time?
They were elementary school and middle school.
Okay.
And a drug deal gone bad on the other side of this city yielded a 7 Series BMW driving into our house, the car completely under gunfire, 3 shots through the hood and 2 through the windshield.
Was your family at home when this happened?
Yes. As a matter of fact, the car entered the house in our lower level where the kids' toys were, where the TV was, where my wife usually did laundry. What
did you do?
Well, since I had a background in personal protection and, I'm a Marine, I pushed my family out the front and got my sidearm and went down because I had heard the gunfire to where the noise was. There's a car inside my house, 2 people getting out of the car, 1 bleeding, and obviously under the influence of several drugs. Didn't realize he had been shot. So I dealt with that situation. The police came, but that was a lot of PTSD right there for my family. I'd been around gunfire, I'd been around guns and stuff, but not my family. Mm-hmm. Shortly thereafter, after spending about a month in a hotel with 2 adults, a full-size dog, and two children, we came back, and despite having engaged a realtor and a lawyer as recommended by the mortgage company to do a short sale on the house, my kids come up and they tell me, there's some people on the lawn. And I went out to ask who it was, and the guy was a little reluctant to tell me who he was or who he was working for. They were doing a public auction on our house while we were inside, because even though there were 2 offers on the house, 1 in cash, to do the short sale, the primary mortgage holder declined to, even though they recommended it, consider those. So when we came down to Virginia rather, from Rhode Island, we came down under duress. We lost a lot of the things that we couldn't pay to bring down. Mm-hmm. This is right after that whole thing with the car and the house. Mm-hmm. My kids they were a basket case. Mm-hmm. So we came down with almost nothing, whatever we could, bring down with us. And as we said earlier, we begged, borrow, and steal to get by. Through the grace of my sister-in-law and brother-in-law, we stayed at their house for a very long time. And
so you were one of those veterans who didn't get counted in the numbers, as we were speaking about earlier,
right.
Deborah. But in fact,
well, and we ran, and that definitely needs to be considered, because we were a full family. They were a full family. They've got 2 kids. They've got their bills and their responsibilities. It was very, very difficult in trying for them, because we were using their resources and not bringing enough of our own. Mm-hmm. So we couldn't stay there forever. I mean, it got to the point where it was very damaging to the relationship. So that's when we were basically going to be on the street through no fault of their own. I mean, they were great to let us stay there as long as they did. Mm-hmm. I have a great VA case manager, and I believe that that's how I got in touch with you and your organization. And had I not come in contact with Operation Renewed Hope Foundation, gotten a little bit of help from the Marine Corps League and the American Legion, because we wouldn't be in the house that we're in and that we've been in for 2 years, at least. My kids wouldn't be in one of the best school systems that I would beg on the street to keep them in. Mm-hmm. It is why we are here, and it was delivered in such a way. It wasn't a handout, it was a hand up. And what impressed me so much about her organization, and I'd go anywhere with her, is that it was done with respect. It wasn't done with judgment.
I'm glad to see you getting to the other side of it.
Oh, yeah.
But it's just a prime example of that spiral that we're talking about. It's one thing and then another, and it's just one mistake early on.
It can be one big thing. It can be a bunch of little things. It doesn't,
And it sets the trajectory for a lot of heartache for a very long time. Mm-hmm. Well, thank all of you so much for being here, for sharing your stories. Again, Deborah, thank you so much for doing what you're doing, and for the 2 of you for supporting it. Deborah, let's just repeat again for our viewers your website so that they can contact you.
Certainly at www.operationrenewedhopefoundation.org.
And let's hope that you'll also have some people interested in helping that dream come true that you talked about, that $4 million Altro's Builder big-time dream, big-time dream. Yes. And appreciate it very much that you were here with us today and sharing your story. And I'm going to keep my fingers crossed for you and your family. Thanks. When we return after the break, we'll be joined by Dr. Shireen Garriman. Dr. Garriman, who we call on the set of Passionality Dr. G, will be talking about the psychological impact of some of the things that you've heard these vets talk about today and how that can be changed. We'll be right back.